The Stanley Parable is a Half-Life 2 mod that was released in 2011. The mod was developed by Davey Reedon with narration by Kevin Brighting. The mod delved into how players make choices in video games. What does, say, going through the right door when the narrator tells you to go through the left do to the overall narrative? The mod in its entirety boasts 6 endings that take roughly an hour to play, and consists mainly of reused Half-Life 2 assets. However, with the incredible wit that came with the narrator's dialogue and the outlandish events throughout the various endings, the mod went on to become a large hit. And with its modest success, Davey Reedon hung up his hat and moved on to his next venture. But the mod continued to gain traction, including from another young man, William Pug. One day, Pug approached Reedon with fantastical ideas of making the Stanley Parable into a real game. Reedon relented, and the two formed the studio Galactic Cafe to make their dreams a reality. The Stanley Parable is a video game that was released on Steam in 2013. The game was developed by Galactic Cafe and written by Davey Reedon and William Pug. The game ventured to take the original mod version and remake it into a fuller experience. The Stanley Parable was notably made with Valve's proprietary gaming engine Source. It was an early example of Steam's at the time new feature, Steam Greenlight, where smaller indie games could be granted access to the marketplace. This was before Valve simply let anybody in through the door. With a multitude of endings, models made specifically for the game, high-resolution graphics, newly composed compositions, and of course the returning narration from Kevin Brighting, the game went on to be wildly popular. The game, like its mod predecessor, is a walking simulator that delves into players' choices in video games. The player controls Stanley as he either listens or goes against the narrator. Many aspects from the mod were remade and reused, with specific aspects reordered and placed in different areas. This is in addition to the plethora of new content. The game is hilarious, whether the player goes along with the narrator, defies them at every turn, walks into an unassuming broom closet, or even simply decides to peruse the achievements list. Every aspect of the game is designed to bring enjoyment to the player. And despite how much was added, the game is still short enough so the gimmick of angering or appeasing a narrator never gets old. And with its release on PC and shortly thereafter its release on Mac and Linux, Davey Reedon was finally done. His game was finished, so he hung up his hat and moved on to his next venture. I personally loved the game when I first played it. I spent multiple hours combing the game, listening to every line of dialogue and attempting to get every ending. I can't say I got all of them. I certainly didn't get all the achievements, and I don't remember saving the baby, as that would have taken up to 4 hours of active participation. Though in the end, I certainly received my money's worth from the amount of times I chuckled at the narrator's plights. After playing myself and then watching numerous other Let's Players' reactions, I set the game down. For at least 5 years, there's an achievement for that, after all. But the fans wanted more. Davey, they cried out. William, they bellowed. We wish to play your award-winning video game, The Stanley Parable, but we want to play it on our home console devices. We want to get Microsoft achievements and Sony trophies and whatever the hell Nintendo has. And eventually Reedon and Pug realized the fans were right. It would be nice to have The Stanley Parable on home consoles. However, this posed one major problem. The Source video gaming engine only worked on personal computers, so the entire video game would need to be recreated in another, more console-friendly engine. So in collaboration with Pug's new studio, Kroz, the team announced they would be working on a new console version. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is a video game that was released in 2022. The game was developed by Cross and was once again narrated by Kevin Brighting. Originally scheduled for 2019, the game went through multiple delays, in part due to a worldwide pandemic, but largely due to the sheer amount of content the team added. The team chose to port the Stanley Parable onto the Unity video gaming engine, and in doing so painstakingly recreated every single asset from the original. But as the team recreated their first masterpiece, they felt it would be a waste to stop at just that. A plethora of new content was made for Ultra Deluxe, to the point where the script for the new content is more than that of the base game. And this new content acts largely the same as the original. The player controls Stanley, interacts in very limited ways with the world, and listens to the narrator ramble on about stories or what have you. But where the Stanley Parable was about choices and narrative, the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is about, well, the Stanley Parable. Ultra Deluxe dives into what it is like to create a follow-up to a video game in the year of our Lord 2022. How over the past years, game design has changed in many various ways. It is in constant dialogue with its predecessor, to the point where reviews and critiques of the original are read aloud by the narrator. Many new features and mechanics were introduced to reference the aforementioned topics. All of these elements were excellently utilized for comedic effect, but some became core parts of how the new content was structured. Maybe Stanley has a new button to press, a new item to hold, a new path to go down. But each of these is paired with excellent dialogue from the narrator, and is in perfect concert with the aspect of game development it wishes to critique. I had so much fun with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. While playing, I was chuckling at my television screen far more than any other game I've played. The narrator's commentary on how the game design has changed is very witty. The game understands that gamers have grown accustomed to high numbers and snappy gameplay, and pokes fun at how these elements would be integrated within the Stanley Parable. The game understands what it means to add new content to a well-praised experience. Do you focus on adding new, potentially unworthy features? Do you spend the bulk of your resourcing addressing complaints, regardless if they were posed in good faith or not? Do you simply take what fans already liked and just make more of it? Ultra Deluxe asks all of these questions and more, but answers them in wildly outlandish ways. And that is about all I can say about the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. It is more of the Stanley Parable. Anything else I could dive into, I will not, because the game is one best experiencing for yourself. Ultra Deluxe is just as, if not more, funny than the original. The game looks, I don't know, a little bit better. The lighting was improved, I guess. The original endings, despite being remade from the ground up, still feel remarkably the same, even when new dialogue is interspersed within lines recorded almost a decade prior. Some of the trophies have been changed, and while hilarious that the completion now requires waiting 10 years without playing, I am what they call a trophy whore and have no regrets with my shiny platinum trophy. 25 USD is well worth a 5 to 6 hour experience, and I cannot recommend this game enough, even if you've never played the original. Overall, I give the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe my new favorite aspect from the game, except I don't want to spoil it for new players, so instead here is a blurred out screenshot out of 10. Thank you so very much for watching. If you would be so kind, leave a rating on the video, hit subscribe if you'd like, and let me know in the comments some of the funniest games you have ever played. Games like Deltarune, Portal, and Donut County are some of my personal favorites in this category. If you would like to follow me on other websites, all the links to them are placed in the description, and my username is Mario8 on them all. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this YouTube video game review. I will see you next time.